My parents announced one of us was adopted, and we had to figure out which one before they'd tell us the truth. The envelope sat on the kitchen table addressed to all three of us in my mother's handwriting. My older sister Natasha picked it up first and turned it over twice before opening it, while my younger brother Finn and I watched from our respective seats. Inside was a single sheet of paper with 12 words printed in Times New Roman font. One of you is adopted. You have until Christmas to guess correctly. Natasha read it aloud 3 times like repetition would change the message, and I felt my stomach drop. Finn asked if this was some kind of joke, and Natasha said our parents didn't make jokes like this, which was true. Our parents, Robert and Diane Henderson, had always been straightforward to the point of cruelty. But this was different. This was psychological warfare wrapped in a guessing game. The date on the letter was September 15th, which gave us exactly 100 days to solve a mystery our parents had kept for our entire lives. I was 23, Natasha was 26, and Finn was 19. We'd grown up in the same house with the same parents and the same mundane suburban childhood, and now everything we knew about our family was potentially a lie. Natasha demanded to know why our parents would do this, and I said we should call them directly. I pulled out my phone and dialed my mother's number, but it went straight to voicemail. My father's phone did the same. I tried the house landline and got a recording saying the number had been disconnected. Finn checked their social media accounts and found them all deactivated. Our parents had disappeared completely, leaving us with a single cryptic message and 3 months to unravel our own identities. We sat at that kitchen table for 2 hours trying to make sense of it. Natasha pointed out that we all had birth certificates listing Robert and Diane as our parents, which meant either the adoption had been handled through illegal channels or our parents were lying. Finn suggested maybe this was some elaborate personality test, but that theory felt weak even as he said it. I started listing physical characteristics. Natasha and I both had our mother's green eyes, but Finn had brown eyes like our father. Natasha and Finn both had dark hair, while mine was lighter. But genetic inheritance was complicated, and physical appearance alone couldn't prove anything. We needed documentation, records, evidence that would reveal which one of us didn't actually belong. Natasha took charge the way she always did, pulling out her laptop and creating a shared document. She titled it Family Investigation and started typing categories: birth records, hospital documentation, early childhood photos, family member statements, genetic markers. Finn listed people we could interview: grandparents, aunts, uncles, family friends who might know something. I focused on the timeline, calculating that if one of us was adopted, it had happened at birth or within the first few months, since we all had baby photos from very early ages. None of us remembered our parents bringing home a new baby, which meant the adoption had been hidden from the start. But hiding an adoption required conspiracy, multiple people keeping the same secret for decades. Monday morning, I drove to the county records office to request copies of all 3 birth certificates. The clerk processed my request efficiently, pulling up digital records and printing them on official paper with raised seals. All 3 certificates looked identical in format, listing the same hospital, the same attending physician, and Robert and Diane Henderson as parents. The birth dates were correct, matching what we'd always celebrated. If these were forgeries, they were sophisticated. I took photos and uploaded them to our shared document, then sat in my car trying to figure out what to check next. Birth certificates could be amended after adoption, showing adoptive parents as birth parents, which meant these documents proved nothing. Natasha visited our maternal grandmother Eleanor that afternoon with a plan to extract information without revealing what our parents had done. She brought coffee and pastries and sat in Eleanor's living room making small talk before steering the conversation toward our births. Eleanor was 83 with a sharp memory, and she started telling stories about each of us as babies. She remembered Natasha's birth in detail because she'd been in the delivery room when complications arose and they'd needed an emergency C-section. She described Finn's birth as straightforward, saying he'd arrived so fast the doctor barely made it in time. When Natasha asked about my birth, Eleanor's expression changed slightly. Before she said it had been normal, nothing particularly memorable. Natasha pressed for details, and Eleanor said she couldn't recall much because she'd been dealing with health issues that year. The inconsistency was subtle but present. Eleanor remembered 2 births vividly, but described the third in vague generalities. Finn tracked down our paternal uncle Lawrence, who lived 3 hours away and ran a small accounting firm. Lawrence agreed to meet for lunch at a diner halfway between our cities. According to Finn's report, Lawrence seemed nervous from the moment he sat down, ordering coffee he didn't drink and checking his phone repeatedly. When Finn asked about our childhood, Lawrence provided surface-level memories that could have applied to any children. When Finn asked specifically about which of us Lawrence had met first, Lawrence said he couldn't remember since we were all so young. Finn pushed harder, asking if Lawrence had attended all 3 births or visited the hospital for any of them. And that's when things took a turn I never expected. Full story is linked below or on my channel.